Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Indieheads podcast. I'm your host, Matty, aka Recon AG. On this week's podcast, we have
Keaton, Strensom's Tooth in a Can.
Alex, Tatios NG.
Jake, Jamaican Hopscotch.
Josiah, Wild Imp.
So first podcast in 2 weeks. Hey guys, welcome back. I said we're gonna keep this weekly. That didn't happen. A lot of releases came out, guys, and we're gonna rush through a couple of these podcasts to make sure we get to them all because we're kind of going out of schedule tonight, which we'll talk about a bit later about what we're going to talk about tonight. Because I said Death Grips and James Blake on that copyright strike update video, which we'll talk about that actually right about now since I just brought it up. So if you guys didn't already see the video on the main channel, we got hit with a copyright strike. So the IFPI, is that correct, Alex?
Yep.
Okay, so the IFPI, so we put up a separate discussion video for our views, which is basically just like a segment from our podcast, and was just talking about essentially because I put it up as a separate thing because I assume that hey, again, there aren't too many reviews out right now. I think Fantano was already out at that point, but there was enough that we could okay, let's just try to get something that appeals to different people, so maybe we can get new fans. Anyways, so we put that up. In the beginning of the video, there is a 13-second snippet of 9 by Drake, and we've done this with other stuff before. We've done this with plenty of our album discussions before, and we've had no issues whatsoever. No we've copyright takedowns or anything like that. Everything was fine.
I checked in our log, and back when we used to do Song of the Week type stuff, we did have that detected. It wasn't like it went unnoticed, but most of the time, or what just happened was whatever party involved, whatever label or whatever that was supposed to be representing the music, just slapped an ad on it and monetized our video for themselves, which I'm okay with that. You know, it's much better than this, and it was just a brief snippet. It was kind of, it made me mad.
I think
honestly.
it was a 9-second snippet, literally, it's nothing. It's not even, it's nothing. And we got hit with not only do it, thing is, if we got taken down, I would have been mad, but at least I would have understood it.
Yeah.
Okay, we just got just taken down. Thing is, we got taken down and we got hit with a copyright strike, and that copyright strike is the reason why if you're listening to this podcast on YouTube, you're listening to this on my own personal channel and not the Indieheads podcast channel because with this copyright strike, we can only upload videos that are less than 15 minutes, and we cannot condense this podcast down to 15 minutes. It is literally impossible.
Yeah.
All right, we've tried. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. We've tried getting it down to 45 minutes, and we can't even do that.
God, no. And we're not. And this podcast is gonna be a long one, guys. So you're in for a show.
Plus podcasts in general, that is just not a normal medium that goes 15 minutes. That just makes no sense. Typically, they do run 45 minutes to 2 hours, even sometimes.
Yeah. So
yeah, totally.
I'm not very happy with
Wasn't our first one 3 hours long?
It was 2.5 hours long. It was a long one.
Yeah.
But back to the copyright strike though. As you can tell, I'm not really happy about this. I'm really pissed off, and I really fucking YouTube.
So
get your shit together, for the love of God. Again, if you guys don't know where we're at, thing is our video completely fell under fair use. As in, number one, we are a non-commercial podcast. Let me remind you guys. No one's getting paid to this podcast. We don't put on any ads in our videos. We don't make any money off this podcast. This is just stuff we do for fun, essentially. And it's not really, it's kind of weird to say for fun, because for some of us, it's it's not really fun. It's more of oh, we take this a lot. We take this pretty seriously. I take it very seriously. Yeah. And also, again, it was a review, and it was a non-commercial podcast. Our video fell under fair use for a number of reasons. So this takedown is completely illegal, and we are trying our best to fight it, as we put in our counter retraction a few days ago. We're looking to hear back from the IPI. Hopefully they ignore, or they just don't respond to our counter retraction, and our video goes back up. The strike is removed, and we are good to upload in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Because
that's how we hope it goes, though.
Yeah.
However,
who knows?
However, the strike is only lasting for 6 months, so we cannot. Basically, we're restricted until November, which
that's a long time, though. That's half a year. Yeah. So to me, these takedowns are for the purpose of protecting sales, and what just infuriated me about this was a 13-second snippet is in no way going to hurt an artist's sales. If anything, it's useful. It's just it's just a functional thing, and I was mad. I'm still mad a little, but
And some people
we'll see how it goes.
And some people, I know some people think like, what if it was an automatic takedown? Like, here's the thing, trust us, it was not automatic. The takedown did not happen until like after a week until the video was uploaded. It was a deliberate takedown, which I think was a part of a bunch of mass takedowns. If I had to guess,
Well,
I can't confirm.
it says it was a.
It was deliberate, but I think
YouTube's language is that it was a manual takedown by the IFPI.
Yeah,
I don't know what that means.
which I think
exactly,
I think they were purposely doing a bunch of takedowns of a bunch of videos that were using like snippets, and we got caught in the fire somehow.
So my guess is that they just sort of see what's going on with the video, and then really quickly be like, nope. And what they must have thought was that they heard the song. Maybe our snippet was like our snippet was like, it wasn't extremely short. It wasn't like bam over. It was like, it was 10 seconds maybe. And
13.
And I still think that's fair. I just mean like maybe they were listening to it and they were like, this is not stopping. Take it down. Because I don't know. Maybe they thought it was just like an album upload masquerading as a podcast discussion, and they just didn't bother checking later in the video. I don't know what they thought, but I'm hoping we didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah,
I don't personally believe we did anything wrong, by my own beliefs, but I don't know. According to the law, okay, I'm not sure.
No. By my own beliefs and according to the law, what we did was completely legal, Alex. Okay, I will defend that stance. But anyways, on to some. Let's get to music, because this bullshit it's just gonna make me even more angry, and just I don't want to. Again, just watch my video on the main channel. I think we'll put up a video on the podcast channel that's sort of like, hey guys, we got hit with a takedown. You can watch the full podcast here. We'll put like a little snippet or whatever. Anyways, let's get into the news, which again, we've been gone for 2 weeks, and not a lot happened. A lot of Radiohead stuff happened, but we're not gonna talk about that yet. We're gonna hold that off until towards the end of the podcast, when we do our main topic discussion on Radiohead's A Moon-Shaped Pool. Just getting that out of the way. You guys can, I don't know what time you're gonna skip to. Just listen to the full podcast, okay? You have to get through this shit to get to the good shit, all right? Anyways, the news. There was two pieces of news that I kind of want to talk about. But there's one that's like, okay, we can talk about this, and no one's gonna get offended. And the second one was like, okay, well this one's kind of dumb. Anyways, here's the not dumb one. So very recently, Car Seat Headrest Teens in Denial, the physical release, was delayed, and a bunch of copies were recalled due to unauthorized sampling of the Cars Is Just What I Needed, which the backstory for that, if again I recall correctly, so Teens in Denial, which by the way I got my CD early, like 5 or 6 days, like a week ago at least. I know I got it.
That's, like, hold on to that.
I got it like Wednesday. I got it like way early. I don't know why, but so I essentially have a collector's item now. Anyways, so there's a song on there called "Just What I Needed" / "Not Just What I Needed."
Just what I need.
And like the last minute of it is like a cover of the Cars' "Just What I Needed," and it's really cool. But it's like it's a slight cover, and it gives you just like massive blue balls. It's like, I want to hear a full cover of this, and you're not giving it to me. But Will Toledo, you're a genius. This is the next funeral, so I can't hate on you too much. But essentially, at Matador, they thought they worked out the deal that they could put the song in there just fine. Like everything was worked out, and then like completely last minute, they found out the guy that they got to make sure the song was good was not legally able to actually do that. And then Rick Okasak, who is the Cars' frontman, was like, yeah, don't use that song. I'm not allowing this." And so they're forced to recall a bunch of copies of the album, which I think, if I remember, because they sent me an email about it. And what they're going to do is that they're still going to ship people their copies, but it's not going to be side A and B. They're just going to ship them like the actual like vinyl, like the actual packaging and whatnot of it, and only with like side C and D, and they're going to later ship A and B when they get them reprinted. But still, though, that's gotta suck.
Yeah, that kind of makes me nervous that they're just sending one disc through the mail, probably.
Right.
No.
They're probably also sending the download code with the full album, that's fixed.
Yeah, because this album.
So that's it's not great, but
yeah, because it's already seen a bunch of like weird things. Like the album, it got accidentally leaked on Bandcamp for like a few minutes, and they gave like all the people who downloaded it off Bandcamp like really early when they accidentally made the pre-order like an actual buy. They gave them like free vinyl copies that were like signed by Will, and those aren't being recalled as far as I can tell. They aren't being recalled. In fact, they've already been like sent.
Weren't those like an incentive for the people who got it early not to leak it?
Yeah. It was like, hey, if you guys don't leak this, you'll get this vinyl copy early and signed by Will. And I think those have already been sent out because I've already heard people who've already gotten them. So those aren't recalled. And then, of course, this shit now is just like, and like the promotion of this album has been like, they've been like pretty like heavily promoting this album. You've had like, of course, if you like follow any like critics on Twitter, they've already like been praising this album for months now, saying like, hey, this is the best indie rock album of the year, probably. Like even Ian Cohen, my mortal enemy and current lover, absolutely loves this album, and I agree with him on that because it's a really good album. It's a great album, and we'll discuss it in like 2 episodes.
Can we address the fact that some of the members, and I won't name names, some of the members on our podcast legitimately stan Ian Cohen. I don't get it. I don't understand.
Thing is, I'm petty and I name names. Will and AJ, y'all gotta get the fuck out of here with this Ian Cohen stan bullshit.
To a lesser extent, Jeremiah. Jeremiah doesn't stan Ian Cohen. Jeremiah's a fan though, and I still don't get that.
I think Jeremiah is charmed by Ian Cohen more than anything. He's not a fan. I think he thinks he's charming, and he's like, you know what? Sometimes I hate Ian Cohen, but sometimes it's just like he's just an interesting guy, and we're gonna meet up at Pitchfork, and I'm going to fight him. We're going to fight. I'm going to knock him square in the jaw for that 9.3 he gave Currents.
That's our 75th episode special.
Oh yeah,
gang fights Ian Cohen.
What shit? Oh yeah.
Cohen has good opinions on like emo, which is especially a genre that Will's into, and I think that it just depends, like, from each genre.
Ian Cohen has good opinions. No, the only good opinion about emo is that it's a terrible genre, and if you like it, you're a bad person.
Bless.
Of course, my name. Of course, my name on Twitter is Bad Opinions trademark. So I mean, maybe I'm not the right person to say that. But
I do feel like when you punch Ian Cohen, that will be the mark of the Indieheads coup of Pitchfork. And I would love to lead that revolution because I, for a long time, have dissented against Pitchfork. They just change a lot of different scores, especially with the Flaming Lips. And I don't think they're a very credible source for like music reviews. They're good with music news, but like as far as their reviews, like they have nothing solid to say in my mind.
Yeah. See, Keaton's with me. Keaton. This is why I love you so much, buddy. You're a great member. Thank you for joining the revolution. Anyways, let's get back to Cars at Headrest though, because we're getting way off on a tangent. This just sucks though, because it's like, I mean, I do have to wonder like, because it's definitely, I think it's the label's fault. I will say, like, I think hopefully they're not blaming Will, but the thing is, I think they're gonna have to blame Will somehow. I would not be surprised if they make him like try to like rush out an album for like next year. But for Will Tweedle, that's like, oh, they want me to make another album. Cool. That's exactly what I want to do. I want to keep making albums as much as I can.
Well, legal stuff like that is definitely a responsibility of the label. I don't know that they can really do anything to punish him, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. They might try to do something like you said, but it's just not really his fault.
And I mean, Matador are the kind of people who maybe aren't they're a great label and they've done great things for indie, but like, look at the deal they signed Arcade Fire with. Like, they give full control. Like, Arcade Fire is just prioritized over almost every other artist and stuff like that. So, like, as far as ethics go in labels, I wouldn't be surprised if they would do something like that.
Yeah, definitely. They're one of the more reasonable ones, I'd say. Yeah, it sucks for Will, but the one plus is that we are getting like more music from him, even if it is just like the 30 seconds or however much that he adds on to the Just What I Needed, whatever. I can't remember exactly what he changed the track name to.
I think it's now. I think it's just Not What I Needed. and then apparently the beginning's the same, and then he did something else with the end of the track where the cover originally was.
But yeah. And it seems weird that people are like saying that Matador is now gonna bully him for this because of the money that he's costing them. Like, I think they're the complete opposite of the type of label that would do that.
Also, apparently he mentioned in his AMA that he actually had several endings going. I think it was that track. He had a lot of different endings to choose from, but he eventually went with the Cars cover or something along those lines. And so, I mean, he has a vault of things to dip into to replace it with, at least.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I think this is gonna put Rick Ocasek on the bad side of a lot of indie fans, even though, like, for a long time, for what he's done with the Blue album, like, he produced that, and he, if I'm not mistaken, helped write the guitar line for My Name Is Jonas. So that's like, would have been good, not so much anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he's an asshole for blocking Carsey Headrest, but like, at the same time, though, it's like, well, he did help make the Blue album, so I mean, he's all right. And just so but it makes sense though. It's like, it's his song. It's like, if he decides like, I don't want you using it, that's completely fine. It's on Matador for just being complete. Matador, I don't want to say you're like complete dumbasses, but like, y'all, I mean, really, you dropped the ball here. Like, if this happened like months before the album came out, like, that's fine because you have time to like to fix this fuck up. But this is like, oh, this album comes out in like 1 week, and you're forced to recall a bunch of copies of the album because y'all didn't do
all
your
the
homework.
copies.
Yeah. Seems like more of their fault than Will's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But they're probably gonna have to put. I mean, here's the thing: they're probably gonna make Will do. I wouldn't be surprised.
More touring.
Either more touring, or they're gonna have to make him like put out another album like pretty quickly. So, but
he has like a whole backlog of material that.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
He said in the AMA he has an entire album recorded and planned already.
By recording.
Or something to that effect. It was like, no. Okay, his words were that he has like, you know, he's got like he mentioned an album that he has planned, and he's got like a whole year's worth of recorded material now, which is in Carsey Headrest terms about an album, because that's what he's just
it's
done.
Probably like demos and whatnot he's done, if I had to guess.
Yeah. So. Yeah, but the point is he has it written. He has a bunch of material written.
Yeah. So it's like basically it's like, Will, we want you to make more music. Cool. I have like 100 songs in my computer right now. Let's record them. Get me in the studio. Book me some time. I can rush this out in 2 weeks, man. This is easy.
Yeah. Honestly, if you just literally did Teens of Style again with full professional production, I would listen to it a million times.
I think he said at some point he'd like to re-record Twin Fantasy, which that'd be really interesting to see if he did that.
Definitely.
That could be really good. But anyways, let's get into.
I'm happy with how Twin Fantasy is.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It's a deeply intimate album, and I think like actually the lo-fi adds to that. Personally, like. I would not have Twin Fantasy any other way. Like, it's just a perfect album to me.
Absolutely, I'm with Alex, and I'm just like a fan of lo-fi music in general. Like, I'm a real sucker for that 4-track sound, especially with like even Kurt Vile. Some of that stuff is unlistenable for a lot of people, the early stuff. But I don't know, I'm way into it.
Yeah, have you Keaton? Have you heard Oakland Azul Asylum by Y?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Stuff.
You made me think of that, because at one point in time I considered that album unlistenable, but I enjoy it now. Just because it's like so lo-fi and so kind of like, it sounds like he recorded it, and like all the recording equipment was at one end of a hall, and he's just like kind of shouting at the other end.
You're not wrong.
All right, so
we are kind of getting off topic.
Yeah, let's get into our next segment of the podcast. This is a segment of the podcast is our podcastly, I guess, weekly reminder that Currents by Tame Impala is not a good album. Now let's get on to our next segment. What have we been listening to this week?
All right.
What? Yeah. What? You have a response? You want to argue me? No. Okay, good. I'd fire you.
All right.
Anyways,
I'm just
we're
gonna
don't have
say
enough-
that
Maddie,
if my
Maddie,
band members
Maddie.
listen to this,
I
I'm gonna
want to
be crucified.
prioritize jerking off Radiohead to, perpetrating beef on the podcast.
All right, that's fine. Anyways,
Okay.
what
Yeah.
I've been listening to this week. Thank you, Alex, for trying to get that back because that bit was it was going nowhere. Anyways, so I went
Really
to
well.
listen to a couple albums
That
this
was
week.
Jake.
That was Jake.
What's that?
Whoever it was, stop. Okay, fucking. Okay, first off, okay. Let me. Okay, because for one bit, I have another bit. Okay, so back in November, we recorded a podcast, Alex, myself, and Will, where we discussed two albums, Joanna Newsom's Divers and Grimes' Art Angels. And at the time, if you remember, if you've been a fan of the podcast since then, I didn't really like that album that much. I actually almost kind of hated it at the time. I didn't think it was very good. I thought it was pretty terrible. I thought Grimes was an overrated hack who really could use a couple collaborators to really fill out her sound, and she has a lot of potential, but doesn't quite reach it. So I still believe that I think the use of collaborators could have really helped her out a lot more on this album. However, I've kind of done a bit of a 180 on this album, as I actually like it now. I think it's good. Someone on Twitter was like talking about Art Angels. I'm not sure who it was. I think it was actually which, by the way, guys, I joined fittedliving.com, a cool blog that Indiehead runs. He only reviewed James Blake's album, which if you want to read that, go to fittedliving.com. You can find my review on there. Anyways, he mentioned Art Angels and how it was like the best pop album of the decade or something like that. Like it was like a 10 out of 10, and I was like, bullshit, no. And I'm like, you know what? Why don't I just listen to it again? Like, it's been a while. Like, it's been a couple months. It's been like since November since I've listened to it. So let me like give it another listen, just to see if I still feel the same about it.
That's very noble, Matty.
And yeah, exactly. And I actually liked it. I thought like I kind of got over some certain aspects that like the certain problems I had with it before I got over them. And I'm like, wow, this is just like a really solid pop record. I mean, I think in some places, I still prefer Oblivion. No, what's the name of her previous album? Oh, Visions. I still prefer Visions. I still think Visions is a really good album, and I prefer Art Angels. But Art Angels is not bad. It's pretty good. It has a couple clunkers. I don't think Butterfly is a very good song. I think the middle. I think the first half is a lot stronger than the second half.
So
But
in a base way, I think Art Angels is a very well written and good album. But I guess overall the production, the aesthetic of it is like. I went to a carnival with my close friend one time, and she ate a bunch of cotton candy, and we went on this like teacup ride, and she vomited, and so her vomit was like all these bright like, almost neon colors, mostly blue but a little bit of pink, and like it made all these swirly things, and it's like it's pretty, but it's still vomit, and I just couldn't. It was gross. But anyway, I guess that's how the album like feels to me, almost like brightly colored vomit. I don't mean that. See, I don't know. That's not a perfect analogy, but it's just like the production goes too far for me into this bubblegum territory, and I don't get into it as much, I guess. But there are songs on this album on Art Angels that are absolutely fucking.
Hold on, Alex. When was the last time you listened to it? Was it the last time like back in November when we did the podcast?
Actually, pretty recently.
All right.
I gave it another shot. It's a good album. Like, I'm not arguing that. I think it's a good album. It's just like I don't know. It's not appealing to me in a lot of ways. Like certain parts of it, I do really like certain songs. Kill V Maim, obviously. God, I can't even remember the titles. I actually really like Scream.
Yeah, no, Scream's thing is everyone hates Scream, but Scream, I really like Scream. I think it's a really good song.
Same.
Scream is the perfect way to just like it's just right. I don't know.
It's completely out of place on the album. It makes no sense why it's there, but at the same time, though, that's why I like it because it feels out of place.
That's kind of why it's perfect. It's just like I don't know.
My love for Scream is pretty much the reason I dislike this album because it got my hopes up. I was like, whoa, is Grimes going in this really weird experimental direction? This is exciting for me. And then it was just not what it was like the exact opposite. So
I don't know. I feel
it's never sat well with me.
Yeah. Just like after California, I never like wanted to make that that assumption. You know, it was just like California was so bubblegum and so pop, and then like you have Scream immediately afterwards, and that's like kind of hilarious and awesome. But like, I didn't think the album was gonna head in a Scream direction.
Mm-hmm. Actually, interesting thing about California, I like California now. Like, actually, the main reason why I checked this album out is that Grimes put out a video for California, and I was like, wow, this is a really.
When I listened to it again.
This is a really cool video, and like the record of the song is like, I don't know if I like it more than the original though. I'm like, wait, do I like the original? And I went back, and of course, people were talking about it on Twitter. Like I mentioned that Grimes on Twitter was like a really good video director. Like her work is like, I've seen a lot of her work, and it's really like good. And I also was thinking about how Tyler, the Creator, just completely dropped the ball on videos for like Cherry Bomb, and how these Grimes videos are actually like really solid and really like like just they look great. The cinematography is great. There's a lot of unique images, and it doesn't look like cheesy or corny or like wow, this green screen's really bad, or like if it's bad, it embraces the bad green screen, you know?
Yeah.
But you know that song, I like California now, which is the like what I hated that song at first, and now I'm like, oh, in California. It's like I can't. It's catchy, but yeah. There's some songs in here that don't like. Butterfly is a really bad outro. It's like super weak and it doesn't work. I don't remember liking Easily, and I can't remember. It's either Art Angels or Pin that I don't really like either. But most of the songs on here are really good. Like Belly of the Beast is a song that I really like, or Belly of the Beat is really good. Yeah, there's again. I think this album it's grown on me. I went from like a 4 out of 10 to like I would say like a 7 out of 10 now. You know what? Yeah, it grew on me. So if you were initially disappointed by it, I would definitely like go back and listen to it and kind of let that disappointment like because I actually went back a few weeks ago to go re-listen to Painting With by Animal Collective, and I like that album more now too because I kind of once I got over the disappointment of it, it's like okay, this is actually kind of a solid like experimental pop record, despite the fact that they really overuse that Hocketing technique. They really got to quit that shit. It just doesn't sound like it was cool when they were kind of doing it before. You know, it felt natural and nice, but there's a couple spots in Painting With where it's like, okay, this is completely forced and doesn't feel natural. It's dry as shit. Quit it. But yeah, anyways, speaking of grime, my next song I'm going to talk about is Skepta, Konnichiwa. So if you've been following this podcast, and I think people in the chat, I've said a couple times that I really hate grime. I think it's a terrible genre. I think it's mostly awful. I don't know if I said it in the chat before, but I know I have had the opinion that I never really liked grime that much. But I think it's more of an opinion just of not knowing much about grime and just being shown like terrible grime and just having a hate for it because my main experience with grime music is like fucking god damn it. I used to go on this forum where I actually still kind of do. I admit it now, but it's dead. Future Talk. There was a running joke in the Plug DJ room that these two British guys in there, they would play like this shitty ass like teenage white kid who's doing grime, and I hated it. And they kept playing this kid. I'm like, god damn it, shut off the shit. I hate it. And so that's where my hate of grime came from. But I heard good things about Skepta. I like Shut Down. I thought that was a pretty good song, and I'm like, yeah, fuck it. Why don't I check out his album? And wow, it's a really solid rap record. There's a couple of stinkers on here. Latest Hit Squad, it's not, I think a lot of people have hated on that track. It's not very good. I don't really like the song It Ain't Safe, but there's some bangers on here. I mean, let's see. The intro track Konnichiwa is great. Lyrics is great. Let's see. Numbers, which has a Pharrell feature and like he does production on, is amazing. Man is great. Shutdown's great. That's Not Me. The album, it just has like 2 songs in there. They're just like they're like right in a row of like they're not very good. But once those 2 songs are over, it's like okay, back to like really good shit. Let's keep it going. So yeah, if you just got rid of 2 songs, it would have been like a really great rap album. But for now, it's just a good rap album, and that's okay. And it actually makes me want to check out more grime music because it's like, oh well, I actually don't mind this. But of course, there's some people out there who are like, it's not grime, it's just UK rap, and it's like, I don't fucking care. I want to check out more UK rap now because I actually am really interested in this. So yeah, thank you, Drake. I didn't like Views, but you did kind of put me on to Skepta, so you did some good recently for me. Fucking asshole.
And then destroyed our podcast.
And then, oh yeah, fuck you, yeah. I just remembered that, Drake, you asshole. We got hit with a copyright strike because of you, okay? Because you're mad that we didn't like your album. I'm sorry we didn't like your boring, uninspired bullshit. Okay, fuck.
Surprised it took you this long to call Drake out on the podcast.
Because I realized that, but Drake. I love Drake, okay?
I was gonna do it as a joke earlier, and then you just did it
I love
like,
Drake. Okay, I
unironically.
love Drake. All right, I loved him. I defended him. I thought he was great, and then he broke my heart. He broke my heart. Betrayed me. Stabbed me. Someone can please. Okay, I'm done. Someone, Keaton, what you?
All right, my
before I
list
have an emotional
too.
breakdown.
Yeah. I'll try to cover for you here, Matty. So, the first album that I'll talk about that I listened to quite a bit recently is Tom Waits' Small Change. For a significant amount of time now, I've been a really big fan of Tom Waits. And this is usually my go-to album. You know, it opens with a cover of Tom Trebow's Blues, which is kind of like a run on Waltzing Matilda, if you don't know. It's about Australia's involvement in World War I and how many people were just like brutally dismembered in Serbia because, if I remember right, the Alliance just kind of used Australia. So there's some history. But yeah, it's something. There's just something really, really powerful about Tom Waits to me. Something that resounds about his just like utilization of squalor and the fact that he's bringing squalor into art in like a very real way. And he's just like, you know, Bob Dylan for a long time in the 60s, he exemplified beat after, you know, Allen Ginsberg started getting more into the hippie stuff and William Burroughs was doing science fiction and stuff. But after the electric period, he just kind of dropped off of that. And I feel like Tom Waits was the perfect person to pick it back up and just carry it into this entirely new realm. Every single style of music he touches, which every time it's just something really wild and nuanced, he makes it new. Like jazz, which is an old genre, he does something to it that's just so new. And you know, same with blues. You know, there's history there, but he can pick it up and make it something its own. And obviously with Rain Dogs, he just took this weird foreign sound that people weren't used to and brought something new. Mule Variations, there's all this gritty garage and stuff that people, you know, well, I guess it was before on some of his other albums like Bone Machine, but he really just brought forth this new thing in the 90s. I really hope I can meet him someday, but he's getting pretty old and worn. I mean, he's been kind of gruffled and
I think we.
But yeah,
we lost you for a sec there, Keaton.
Oh, did I? Did you?
I think you're. I don't know. I think you got your point across though about Tom Waits.
All right.
Sounds very interesting.
Yeah, Tom Waits. I'm a little bit obsessed with that man, and eventually I will definitely put like a soul patch on my face, which is probably a bad decision, but I can't help it because of my love for that man. Yeah, second record I listened to quite a bit lately is The Wipers' Youth of America. Now, if you know your Pacific Northwest punk, you definitely know The Wipers. They kind of birthed it out of Portland, Oregon, and the lead singer is just like, there's something really interesting about him. He used to cut records himself in high school and like record songs off the radio with a disc cutter and give like these 45s to his friends. And in doing so, he like literally looked at music through a microscope for a long time and just started thinking of it in this different way. And they were one of the first bands to take the punk platform and make really long songs with it. The title track on this is 10 minutes long. But the main reason I started listening to this was recently in my home city of Missoula, Montana, Bernie Sanders came through and he did a rally. And I don't want to get too political, but I'm a big Bernie supporter. And it just like excited me so much. And almost directly afterwards, I started seeing a lot of stuff online about how like there's not all that much hope for his nomination. I think if people get behind his write-in presidency, there's hope. But, you know, who knows? Basically, I was bitter, and the title track on this covers a lot of stuff about, well, youth in America and how difficult it is to be an American citizen. So my time lately has been just reading up on politics, watching the new Chomsky documentary, and obsessively listening to The Wipers. So, yeah.
Nice. Let's see, Alex. What did you?
I figured just skip over me to save on time because
Jake,
Radiohead.
what did you listen to?
All right. Oh, okay. So first thing I've been listening to this week is Meta-Modern Sounds in Country Music by Sturgill Simpson. And I don't want to be that guy to say that I like typically don't listen to a certain entire genre, but I've kind of rarely listened to country music. And I understand that there are, tons of artists that cover a lot of different sounds and styles within the genre, but a lot of stuff just doesn't really intrigue me, so I don't really go out of my way to actively search for new music in the genre. However, this guy and this album, I guess, in general, have generated a lot of excitement on the sub and in other places online. And I'm also seeing him live with my dad in a couple months, so I figured I'd try to start digesting his discography. I know he just released a new album this year, A Sailor's Guide to Earth, but I've listened to it a few times, so I can't really articulate that many opinions on it. Anyway, Meta-Modern Sounds in Country Music. Great album.
I will say, to get better into country music, one artist I always tell people to listen to, because I, grew up in Montana, I have kind of a soft spot in my heart for certain stuff. Obviously, none of the stuff usually played on radio, but older artists. Townes Van Zandt is well worth looking into, especially if you're a fan of Father John Misty. He's named him as a hero like multiple times. In his live album, I think it's like Live at the Silver Dollar is what it's called. Just incredible stuff.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely trying to start to delve into the genre deeper because it'd just be ignorant of me to think that it's just a bad genre, but yeah, this album's great. It's super dynamic for, I guess, what I'm used to hearing country. There's a lot of different sounds and styles and influences coming through. Like, some of the songs are this really old, like Waylon Jennings, Johnny Cash kind of outlaw country, maybe towing the line of like blues rock kind of thing. And some of the songs are like really soft-spoken. Like, one of the tracks has like synths on it. There's some psychedelic influences creeping in, I feel like. He mentions psychedelic drugs a lot. I guess that doesn't count as an influence. But even musically, like the last track, It Ain't All Flowers, starts with these weird backwards guitar loops and like broken drum beats and yelping and screaming. And it's got this really reverby, spacey kind of atmosphere. And yeah, so it's all around a really cool album. Looking forward to seeing him live and getting further into his discography, further into country music. And yeah, the next thing I've been listening to, it's not really an album, but it's just the band about to release the 2016 album of the year, Adult Jazz. That was like half sarcastic because Radiohead.
Yeah. No, but, it's gonna be good though. It's gonna be so good. Oh my god, it's gonna be good. I'm so excited, guys. Like,
it's not out yet, but it's called Earrings Off. I think it comes out May 20th. But in preparation, I've been kind of listening to everything else they've put out thus far, which is mainly just their 2014 album, Just Is, which ended up being one of my favorite albums of the year that year. It's basically like this art pop, art rock kind of album with a lot of these really interesting, really organic songs that kind of like twist and jerk around, and they go off in these really like beautiful tangents and progressions. And it's a really cool album. Instrumentally, it was pretty regular, like just electric guitars, drums, bass, maybe some horns and stuff. But that makes their new stuff they're going to put out way more interesting because their singles so far, Eggshell and Earrings Off, specifically Eggshell, it's like this super weird, like experimental electronic song with pitch-shifted, robotic-sounding vocals and synths in like weird loops and samples, and it's just so interesting and good. I don't know, it's probably my most hyped album that isn't out yet right now. So yeah, definitely check out Adult Jazz if you haven't. It's like their new album is the next Neon Bible.
May 2016 is without. You can go. Sorry.
To speak to what you said earlier about Just Is, like, they were like a very normal band when they made that album, like in terms of structure, but like the things they did with their instruments are pretty unique. Like a lot of the time, like it doesn't sound just like a normal rock album. Like what they do with it is incredible. I've only actually given the album a full listen once, but I love it already. Like it's just
and also that cover joins them into the classic indie handcore.
Yep.
So like all great indie records have hands on the cover, and this is just another one.
The Banks of Funeral and
In the Airplane, The Antlers, Hospice, yeah. There's a whole bunch of them.
That Interpol album.
Godspeed You Black and there, Emperor.
Oh, of course, yeah, with your skinny face.
Spoon. They Want My Soul.
Every Pavement album.
Subtract Wonder Where We Land. That is a very underrated album, by the way. I love that album. I do not get why everyone hated it when it came out. His new album is trash, though. Save Yourself. That shit was trash. Yeah. What else has classic hands on it? Let's see. What album can I? Well, there's another album cover I'm thinking of. It doesn't have hands, but it has a dick on it.
This is
so
the worst
that makes
tangent
it automatically
I've
classic.
ever gone on.
Oh god, Deep Web. Great again.
I was gonna.
Hold on. Actually,
come on.
No, legitimately, I think the No Deep Web cover, it's aesthetically fucking terrible. It looks terrible, but the meaning behind it is so great for what it
How did
represents.
you get us to Death Grips from hands?
We can't. This is.
Okay, this is
a time.
Okay, Alex,
This is a topic
you've known
for
me
like
for
a
a
late
year
night.
and a half now, man. Okay, you know me. Okay, I will lead the conversation to Death Grips easily.
You know, you just
Again,
you went on this like it's like something turned on, like you've got a jet engine in there, and like you just went from like thing to thing. Like first you're on album aesthetic with hands, and then to Death Grips.
See, here's the thing though. Every time
incredible.
every time there's a conversation, whether it be this podcast or in real life, I'm playing 6 Degrees of Death Grips. Well, how can I relate this conversation to Death Grips?
I do that with Radiohead, but
Real
I
quick,
don't
exactly.
usually
See?
like bring it up.
Well, this is my podcast,
Topic.
so okay, yeah, sorry.
Real quick before we leave the topic, Run the Jewels, Faust, and Viet Cong, and David Bowie, and the Strokes, actually. Those all have hands on it. Okay, that's all I have to say. Oh,
Very...
and American Idiot by Green Day.
I think Josiah has been trying to say something.
I wanted to
I'm
say,
sorry, Josiah.
like
Please-
May
please say what you said.
2016, genuinely will probably go down as my favorite month of album releases since I've become a music fan so far. It's just been so fucking much, and that combined with the fact that I wrote down a couple albums for what I've been listening to this week, but honestly, I've just been listening to obviously Radiohead a lot, obviously the new James Blake album, the new Car Seat Headrest album, really the holy trinity right there of May releases. But I've actually just been expanding my taste a lot recently and listening to a lot of albums that you guys have been talking about, and I'd kind of been more on a hip-hop tangent for probably from November to February, partly just because it was what my friends in real life were into, and when I would switch to indie rock when we were hanging out, they would usually just tell me to switch back to trap or Mick Jenkins or some artist that I'd shown them. But yeah, I guess I just kind of have been settling more into an indie rock mood lately, and I really have you guys to thank for that, and this podcast, and just having this thing that I can connect to. So thank you guys.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Josiah,
well,
you said you've been listening to stuff that we've recommended. I don't push my shit as much, but you should listen to Rhythm by Wild Birds and Peace Drums. Seriously, everyone needs to listen to that album. Came out in 2014. I was like, oh Jesus, sorry.
okay, this is so. Who just? This is my podcast. Okay, this is a very professional affair here. I try to keep things as professional as possible. Having a little fun, of course, occasionally. You gotta have a little fun on the podcast. All right. I'm trying to compete with NPR in this bitch. Okay, and you're coming out with that shit.
That shit is No Surprises by Radiohead, and I'm proud of the fact that I was able to recognize that in 2 seconds over a muffled computer microphone wearing Walmart quality earphones.
Oh, well, good for you, Jake. congratulations, you recognize the song. I don't care if you recognize the song. That is a ringtone on my podcast. You mute your mic if you ain't talking.
It wasn't mine. I was just saying.
It actually wasn't a ringtone. I had my phone unlocked and I accidentally opened Simple and it played that because that was the song I had posted recently.
Which, by the way,
I'm pretty sure though it's divine intervention asking us to get closer to the moon-shaped pool discussion.
Yeah, we should get onto that. Okay, but real quick though, everyone listen to Rhythm by Wild Birds and Peace Drums, released in 2014, album of the year, GOAT, etc., etc. Listen to it. Okay, Radiohead.
I saved it.
Okay, Alex, you know what? The thing is, this Radiohead, I'm still like, I don't know if I have my thoughts yet on this one. Alex, you know more than me. You introduced this topic for us.
So Radiohead.
How can you even introduce this?
Yeah, like
Radiohead.
We all know Radiohead.
They
were that one-hit wonder from the '90s. This is their first album since their great album Pablo Honey, and I would say it's a bit of a change of pace. What about you guys?
This album's kind of different from Pablo Honey.
Yeah,
kind of different.
I would compare it to Pinkerton, actually.
Okay, well, anyway, I guess a more proper introduction. I'm sure you've heard of Radiohead. I'm sure you're at least familiar with some of the story. You've probably heard part of OK Computer, or you've heard like In Rainbows or something. You've at least heard Creep. But if you're listening to this podcast, you are definitely familiar with the band, and they're just. There isn't much that can be spoken to Radiohead in their discography at this point that hasn't been said. They inspire an obsession in a lot of people, including myself. And I don't know. That's really all I can say. Leading up to this album, it was kind of like, it was weird for me personally, just because like I got into them right after. Actually, it was right before The King of Limbs was released, but I wasn't really paying attention. I was just like trying to like force myself to like Kid A, and then that came out. I got into Kid A. Blew my mind. It's my favorite album of all time. Then I went into their discography. Then I got into King of Limbs. That took me a little while, as always, and the rest is history. But basically, I've spent a quarter of my life waiting for this record, and getting it was surreal.
Yeah, and especially just because of how slowly they tease things up to the actual release. Like, there's been subtle hints being dropped for years, and especially the last couple months were particularly agonizing. If this is an album you're anticipating, there's like the whole Don Chorus LLP company, and then there's the London Contemporary Orchestra stuff, and then before the actual release of the album, there's obviously the whole lowering the opacity of their website. Deleting their social media, and so when it did finally come out, it was just like,
not to mention all of the false release dates, because there was the radio interview with Johnny Greenwood where he said it was going to be out sometime soon, and then Tom York was like, nah, it's not, and then there was the manager who said it was going to be out sometime in June, And it's like, no, it's not. And usually when that kind of denial happens, you expect it would be because it's coming out later. But no. No, thank you, Radiohead. No.
See, I'm not fazed by this stuff. The whole promotion, I'm not fazed. I survived. Again, look, I went through Jenny Death. I went through The Life of Pablo.
I would just immediate segue.
Okay.
I was just
I know.
You were talking for 5 seconds.
I just like to point out that the Radiohead hype train started, the starting point and ending point, encapsulates the Jenny Death. The hype for Radiohead started before the hype for Jenny Death, and it ended after. This is years of
that's true, but it
encapsulates most of Death Grip's existence too.
All of it.
There were rumors of them getting back into the studio almost immediately after the King of Limbs. And then usually it was Phil or Colin. They'd be like, "Yeah, we're getting back into the studio next September, and
I remember that.
We're gonna be really working at it." And then they'd say that Then at the end of the fall, they were like, yeah, we're starting in March, and then we're starting in September, and it was just this long line of things. And then, in the meantime, Amok came out, and
Tomorrow's Modern Boxes.
I like both of those albums. I did not like Amok for the longest time, but it clicked for me just recently, actually. And like, it's not, it's obviously like one of, I don't know, I don't want to call it a lesser album, but it's not like one of the standout statements in Tom York's, like,
Well, I think it occupies
joint
a
discography
space.
Absolutely, every single one of their records does. Like every single one of
yeah, but like more than anything, Amok is a jam record. Like in my mind, like they're just jamming it out in the studio more than anything. Whereas everything else is a very concentrated, cerebral project for pretty much anything else in the Radiohead world.
I always thought of In Rainbows kind of that way too. Like In Rainbows is definitely more like. Ridiculously combed over, but like it's definitely, it feels jammier,
Oh yeah, I can see that because of like the fact that there's so many grooves to it.
Yeah.
But like when you look at the history, and I'm sure how they went to the studio and just like couldn't get the album out for the longest time, and then there's like the whole thing with which song is it? All I Need, that has like every single note on a viola like played simultaneously. So there's a lot of production stuff that makes it clear that it's cerebral, whereas Amok feels just like having fun in the studio with these other musicians he, appreciated.
And like, I don't know, at the time when that came out, there was this concern that there wasn't going to be another Radiohead album, or that like the next one would be the last, and I think some of that is kind of carried over too. But like, I don't know, just because I think In Rainbows was a really draining recording process. Like I think they said that like it was really difficult to record, and it took them a long time. And then they tried to do The King of Limbs faster, and I don't think it came together quite the way they wanted. I think they were proud of that album, but like on some level, I remember Tom expressing like concerns with the album format itself around the release, and like just I think it wasn't quite like, it didn't feel quite like a cohesive product in the same way their other albums did to them, and like especially the way they dropped it, they just sort of dropped it out of the sky, and like I remember Tom's also saying in a different interview like that didn't feel like enough to them, like it didn't feel like it hardly felt like it was there. So then they kind of like, I don't know, they did something bigger. I can't remember what it was they did, but they advertised it in some way, and they went on the big tour. And like, I think they weren't going to go on a big tour originally, and it seems like they aren't doing that this time. But so basically, it seemed like they were a little bit demoralized, and Amok was like this fun new thing, and both Tom and Nigel seemed very excited about Amok too, like around the time, because it was just like, it was a way for them to like get off steam and have fun at their job, whereas normally their job is like this really challenging creative thing for them, whereas this was just like this, fun project that they got to do. And what I didn't see at the time, I recently reread the AMA. What I didn't see at the time was that they still talked about Radiohead as their main thing. Like in the AMA, it was like, it was very clear that they were making this like a break,
Right.
Just a way to, I don't know, let out steam and to, I don't know, have fun with the process. And
hold on, Alex.
So I'm not.
So on that topic, can we talk about the AMA? The AMA is great, by the way.
It's a great, yeah. It's a great AMA.
But my favorite Tom York quote comes from that AMA. It's the best quote he's ever had. Where someone's asking,
put the waist guy?
Where are you gonna put the waist guy?
Yes.
Always signs every comment with this like THM.
The most, like, the sassiest response I've ever seen in an AMA too, because like the guy had just like done this like thought out like, why don't you support like nuclear power, and then Tom's just like,
I
That always blows me away when I read it. It's a good AMA. There are a lot of interesting answers, and they go in depth on some things without like really saying a lot.
But the best thing about Tom York's internet presence is like comparing and contrasting it to the music of Radiohead, because this is the band
ever.
Yeah, this is the band that released an album called OK Computer in like the 90s. This is the band that changed everything by releasing an electronic album, and yet when you look at his internet presence, it seems very much just like old dude, except also very bizarre and paranoid and just so lovable.
Wait, you know what my second favorite Time York quote is from Twitter that I delete, which I'm really sad I delete all his tweets. The economy.
Stupid.
Okay, what were we saying? What were we trying to say? Sorry for interrupting.
I was just gonna say, even when you like watch interviews with Tom York or just like any sort of press or any sort of interview he does, he just seems like this goofy British dude. But then the albums itself, it's like I don't know, it's just he like transcends to some other place in his mind. This is unreal.
So what I was getting at sort of earlier was both that I don't think this is their last album, and also that they seem really invigorated around this compared to the more recent releases, including Tomorrow's Modern Boxes, Amok, and The King of Limbs.
Mm-hmm.
All those albums, they dropped it out of the sky without much fanfare, and like this one, you know, they had that whole long build up. They did the website thing that was like fucking exhausting for me because you know, I'm an obsessive and I watched it all day even though I had finals and a billion projects, and oh my god, I wasted so much time because I thought it was gonna drop.
Yeah, I wasn't even like going to. I was like bringing my computer into the bathroom with me because I thought something was gonna happen. It was actually ridiculous.
And
the funny thing about
there were the Instagram videos, and those are cool. And these music videos are really cool, and it's a great album. And I'm excited and happy.
All right. Do you have something to say, Keaton?
Oh yeah, what I was gonna say is that the funny thing about this like modern internet like hype obsessively just refreshing pages and whatnot is the fact that it's not really gonna go away. Like I remember when the album actually came out, first of course it was released on Google Play by accident, just as a leak, and I had no way to purchase it, so I just listened to the previews and was just like, I'm so unsatisfied. And then I went and I did laundry and came back and the album was already out, but it was still there and I could still pick it up at any time I wanted to. It wasn't like it was going away, even if, you know, you guys were waiting for something to happen, you know. Alex, if you wrote your essays or whatever, like the album would probably still be there. Yeah. But we still like feel this need to just seek it and be there first. It's interesting modern psychology around things like this.
Totally.
So I guess to get into the album itself, all that hype stuff eventually led up to the release of their single "Burn the Witch," and I guess that was kind of significant to me for a couple reasons. Because for one, the song has like roots all the way back to the early 2000s. Like there are lyrical fragments of the song on the band's website and like a "Hail to the Thief" physical booklet, I think. And from there, and it was on that that famous In Rainbows chalkboard where they just threw up like 30 songs and like they took a picture. But so the song kind of was built up as this really mysterious, unreleased entity in their vault. They teased
it at a couple concerts.
Yeah,
too.
Fans would shout like "Burn the Witch," and then Tom would
play two chords and then be like, you know what, nah.
Like nah, exactly.
Okay, so from the Radiohead Superfan perspective, how many songs in here are like stuff that's been like unreleased or has been in the works for years? Like how many songs?
5 of the songs I actually counted this morning. I have the track list here. So like "Burn the Witch," he never played it, but it was known about, like the lyrics were like it was a known song. "Desert Island Disc" and "The Numbers" used to be called "Silent Spring." Tom played those acoustically at a show a couple months ago, but they'd never been played by the full band. And then obviously "Full Stop," "Identikit," and "The Present Tense" were all performed on Radiohead's tour off of "The King of Limbs." So there's only like 4. Oh, and "True Love Waits," obviously. So there's only 4 or 5 tracks that were totally unheard of before.
The thing is, people like I feel like people give too much I don't know, like take that too seriously, because when you think about most of these songs.
I forgot. Actually, present tense was like, I think it was played like a Tom York solo show back in like 2009, apparently. So that's like 6.
Yeah. So the way I see it, really, the songs that have been kicking around for a long time are "Burn the Witch," "The Present Tense," and "True Love Waits," because all the other songs were really written in this post the King of Limbs period that we know of. Obviously, probably some of them were lurking somewhere in the lyric books or some melodic fragment, because that's just how they work. Like, they workshop songs for forever, but I don't know. People were like, they didn't really write any new songs for this, but when you think about it, they're all mostly new in some way or another.
And they're even the ones reworked dramatically.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Even the ones that are not new, technically, they're still so drastically different from the things that we had heard.
Yeah, "True Love Waits" is an entirely different song, even though it's still very simple. It's like, I mean, also the context has changed to something like significantly more depressing, but as a song, like I don't know, as a habit, I keep I will listen to this album in full, hear "True Love Waits," cry a little, and then play like the older live version of "True Love Waits," and then be kind of comforted by that one. Just like, I just keep doing that. I keep finding myself doing that.
Yeah. And since we're on the topic of "True Love Waits,"
it's not like, it doesn't feel repetitive. Anyway, what were you saying?
So obviously this is kind of pertinent to the whole album as well, but Tom's divorce Tom, in case you didn't know, got divorced recently, within the last year, I think. And so that whole idea is like obviously a huge overarching, I don't know if it's a theme, but it definitely influenced this, like, the songwriting of the album.
Yeah, you can find it like everywhere in here.
Yeah, exactly. And "True Love Waits" was first played live, and I presumably written in 1995 or maybe even earlier, and that's relatively and that's relatively around the time that I'm assuming he started dating his I guess now ex-wife, and the whole song lyrically used to be Tom, practically begging her to not leave, right? Like, that was the whole lyrical hook, and just looking at the lyrics of the first verse, like, it's pretty dramatic. And now with the context of the divorce, but him still keeping the lyrics the same, it becomes the most empty, defeated song just in the world. Like, when he sings "Don't Leave," knowing that she actually left, it just adds so much gravity. And in the whole album, that same idea is kind of reflected.
It's they've been dating for 23 years. Like, that's half of his life,
right. Every Radiohead song about a girl is about that girl, to put that in perspective. So it's not just this song too. Like, there's going to be a whole myriad of songs now in the canon that just have an entirely new meaning to them when he plays them live, and I don't know, I'm just super interested to see how that works out.
It's really in all these songs, and even not all the songs are directly about their relationship in some way or another, but there are lyrics like that just pop up where you just know. You know, it's like, it's there. And fucking sometimes it's like subtle, or the track makes itself obvious at the very end, like "Daydreaming."
Right.
At the end, where he's backwardsly saying in this weird
half of my
altered demon voice, "half of my life," Oh, and in the video for "Daydreaming," supposedly Tom walks through 23 doors.
Yep. I heard that.
23 doors, one for every year they were together, and
the number 23.
Yeah, starring Jim Carrey.
God damn.
No,
anyways, but yeah,
part of me thinks that's got to be a coincidence, but also I feel like Radiohead is a band to do.
Well,
oh, of course. No,
I mean, I don't know.
It's
not a coincidence.
It is Paul Thomas Anderson and Radiohead.
Yeah, for one, it's Paul Thomas Anderson and Radiohead, but also I don't know. I just took a film class, so
of course the shit's
I'm obviously not an expert, but we focused a lot on the process of filmmaking, and I read a bit of Sidney Lumet's book, memoir type thing on making movies, and I even had to write a film treatment myself and write about the style and stuff. A lot of things, more than you would expect, are deliberate, stylistic, meaningful choices.
And especially in Paul Thomas Anderson films, and he directed the video.
Yeah, I was going to say, I could definitely see Tom and PTA's kind of styles mixing together well with just kind of the way they tell stories.
Yeah. Okay,
the
hey.
brainstorming for this video, man.
PTA. I want to walk through 23 doors. 23 doors, Tom. 23 doors, PTA. Alrighty, Tom. 23 doors it is.
You think he calls him PTA?
Sure. It is.
They're buddies.
We're gonna cut this bit. Actually, no. I want to talk about the song because the song, it's like, when it came out, I was like, oh, okay. Again, all these songs, like, this album is a slow burner. Can we say that?
Yeah, absolutely.
It is a slow burner.
It's their most subtle by far.
Yep, and
subtle. I can back subtle, but not slow burner. But
Yeah.
that's just
slow
personally.
burning, just as in like.
No, it's
Not
a
very
grower.
Okay, grower's more appropriate. Yeah, I should say grower.
Yeah.
And Daydreaming was a song
It kind
at first,
of-
and I was like, oh, okay.
It kind of progresses throughout, like, the opposite of the way that James Blake's new album does, where it kind of starts with the breakup and becomes progressively less dismal throughout. This, to me, becomes more dismal leading up to True Love Waits,
absolutely.
kind of about Tom's relationship.
Well, yeah,
It's
the
like
first-
you kind of you watch the grief set in.
Yeah. But what's so
That's kind of what
incredible?
happens.
What's so incredible about this grief setting in is that it still gives so much room for, humanity. Like,
Yeah.
Daydreaming seems a lot like the shock of the divorce, but
Yeah.
then, Dex Darks, it feels almost like anthem-esque, and it's very, we are happy to serve, and, like, there's that hanging, just melancholy, but he's still allowed to feel some uplifting things, like those keys moving through, like, and that's something you don't see in music frequently, especially when it's something so sad. Like, I mean, I'm a huge fan of Elliott Smith, but I mean, that's some soul-crushing music, especially the early stuff. It doesn't breathe as much as this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, this album is like deeply personal. It's Radiohead's most personal album. Period. It's the most personal album Tom has written, to me. But
And
like,
honestly,
it's still there's so much room for, like, it's not just like, oh, this is about Tom York. It's like, oh, this is kind of about me too. You can directly, like, relate to the lyrics in, like, a very personal and human way. I find myself connecting to the album constantly, and, like,
Absolutely.
that's such a good point. Like, the lyrics on this album are a lot more, I guess I would say, visceral than they have been in the past. Like, Radiohead, if you look at the lyrics of like Kid A, Amnesiac Era, they're just so, like, opaque and, like, abstract, and it's just these songs are, it's so much easier to draw, like, raw emotion from.
Yeah, and they're like fucking Glass Eyes. Glass Eyes is unlike any song Tom York has written, period, ever, and it's just this short piano tune, and it's just because he's directly, like, describing things that happen.
Yeah.
I don't know how to put it. Like,
It's almost like he's feeling into the instruments
more
rather
moving.
than playing
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's hard to talk about. It's hard to
Yeah.
describe. It's
And
It's
like,
very
as far as,
personal.
like, connecting with the album, I'll say maybe the reason I have a problem with calling it a slow burner is because I kind of went through a weird romantic twist recently, and with someone I had been friends with for a really long time, and we don't even talk anymore. So, like, I really, really connected with it on first listen. Like, I was bawling with tears, and, like, when Daydreaming dropped, I just listened to it over and over again and cried as well. But you're right that it does have an exponential climb. Like, you definitely, and like all Radiohead releases, subtleties keep just pulling through. And what originally seemed like kind of this melancholy cloud of an album becomes like an entire lake of just, like, really heavy, interesting production techniques and just sounds that you don't find in many other places.
yeah.
See,
Yeah, if you ever talk to a Radiohead or someone who's not into Radiohead and they complain that they're just too dreary, this is not the album to prove them wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God.
I don't know, though. I don't know, because some of it, yes. Some of it distinctly, yes. Like Daydreaming, Glass Eyes, and
True Love Waits.
even Dex Dark. Yeah, True Love Waits. Like, those are dreary songs, but then you get into, like,
Desert Island
Well,
Disc.
Desert Island
Yeah.
Disc is the opposite of dreary.
Yeah, you can show that to anyone.
It's still heartbreaking, and, like, I don't know. It's also the most peaceful song on the album, too, like, in a way.
Mm-hmm.
There's something there's a desperation to it, but also like I don't know,
A
a joy in
curiosity.
it almost. Like curiosity fits. It's I don't know. Like the line different types of love are possible fucking destroys me because just like knowing the context in Tom's life and like especially that it's a newer song and like a couple of the songs seem to hint towards some infidelity in their marriage. I don't know.
And that's
on
kind of
whose
been a
part.
present theme even all the way back to like In Rainbows.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a possible reality, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it seems like they were both unfaithful. That's my interpretation, but it's hard to really say for sure.
The unfaithful thing, I haven't really gotten to say too much about the album yet. It feels weird to not have to say much. I feel my ego is going crazy right now. But actually, it's actually funny because I remember when it was announced that Rachel Owen, which is Tom York's ex-wife, when they separated, like someone in the Indieheads sub was like, "Oh yeah, I saw Tom the other day. Like I actually like met him the other day, and he was with someone that definitely wasn't Rachel Owen." And I was like, "Huh, okay." That unfaithful thing makes sense. Another thing is that, I will say I like this album, and what you guys like I feel so jealous that you're like so emotionally connecting to it and whatnot, and yeah, I'm connecting to it too. There's a lot of stuff here that's like, oh shit, like I mean, True Love Waits, the version on this just it breaks my heart completely. With the context of the divorce in mind, in the way he sings it, and it's just like, wow. But I don't see myself like emotionally connecting with this album as much as I am with like other records that came out. Like the James Blake album is just consumed me. It's so
I think
put my
the
feelings
James
this way.
Blake one is much more directly relevant to you.
That's why
This album, like I've been like dating the same person for I don't even know how long now, but it's been multiple years and like I don't know, like 3 or 4 or something. I'm not sure. But like I don't know. I just can't think of it right now. I don't know. There's something about that. Like I've had doubts about my relationship, but when you're so like strongly connected to this person, like you don't want to face that sometimes. Sometimes you just want to like I don't know. You want to find some way to. There's a certain desperation to like songs like Desert Island Disc especially that like I relate to where you just like care about this person so much you don't want to like let go of that even though you don't like feel as strongly as you used to sometimes.
And I feel Go ahead.
And I think the reason why maybe not like it, I think that's why I said earlier it's a bit of a grower, and it's still growing on me as like we're doing this podcast. Like, I'll probably listen to it much more, and like by the end of the year, I'll probably be like loving this album much more than I am right now, because it's definitely an album that I haven't like completely picked apart yet. Which is why I'm kind of letting you guys like lead the discussion, because you guys seem to have more of an idea of what you think of this album than I do currently. And I think the other reason is that it's even like the songs I hear that are like bombastic, it just doesn't quite have the bombast of previous Radiohead albums, and that's not a bad thing, obviously, because if anything that helps the record out a little bit, because it's a much more subtler, it's much more, it's less direct. It is like, okay, this is going to creep up on you a bit more. You have to really sit with this album and really like give it time, because it's definitely it's a grower, and it's still growing on me. But like, the James Blake album has a lot of bombast, and I think another album that's really similar to this one that we haven't brought up yet was Volny Kura by Björk. Again, both are albums about divorce. Well, Björk is much more like very clear, like this is about divorce, while Tom is more subtler.
I'm glad you brought that up, actually, because there's long been this comparison between Radiohead and Björk's discographies, where like there's a similar flow to it, and they were released like very close to each other, and again, like it's kept up here where they both went through like the end of a long-term relationship. I think Tom technically wasn't married, like it was some sort of legal partnership, but I don't know if it was a marriage, because I never saw that language used, but like they both went through that, and they both made an album where that's like strongly like flows through it somehow.
Also, even kind of sonically, they're both really orchestral.
Yeah,
and
they're both. I don't know. Never mind. Ignore me.
They're both like abysses to me. Like they both you just sink into them, and there's a lot of strange like vocal effects on both of them. A lot of things that soar in both of them. So yeah, there's definitely a coherence between the both of them. And they've always I saw an interview with Tom from like OK Computer era where he was just talking about how much he admired Bjork as an artist, and I mean he's been featured on some of her songs. And I don't know, that's always a relationship that's intrigued me as well.
There's actually like an online petition out there that's like, get Bjork and Tom York on a date. That'd be interesting.
I don't know.
That'd be interesting. But anyways, but the reason why like Volikura, it's a much more direct album than this album. It's like there's a lot more bombast. There's a lot more like because I think the reason why is because you have fucking Arca like doing like the drum programming and whatnot, or helping out on production on that album. Or Arca's a very like direct producer who is like, I'm in your face and like, here are these weird fucking sounds you've never heard before, but you're gonna like them. I don't know when, but you'll like them eventually. This is the future of music. And like that album had much more bombast, and Bjork, the emotion. Bjork, she wasn't empty. Like on this album, Tom York, I think another album I want to compare this to, which again, you guys you're gonna roll your eyes, you're gonna groan at me, but I don't care. This is Redeemer by Dean Blunt.
Oh, I thought it was going to be Death Grips.
No. No, I think they're similar, as in they both have this sort of like, in like Tom York's lyrics and his vocals, there's this like empty feeling where Tom York isn't like, there's no moments like in Idiotech where he's like, this is real. There's none of that on this album. It's much more quiet. It's much more in the shadows and like kind of subdued, and like it's just Tom York feels like he's been completely drained emotionally.
Yeah,
I wouldn't describe these songs as empty.
No.
Yeah,
okay,
not empty.
Emotionally empty. That's what I'm trying to say. Emotionally empty.
I would say subdued is the perfect thing because they're full of emotion, but he doesn't have the energy or power within him to blast this out anymore.
Yeah,
because a monument of his life has been taken away from him. There's an actual piece of him missing.
It's like defeatist.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's what I was trying to say. Is that just he feels emotionally drained, and it's just he's trying his best, and it's like you can feel that he's in a lot of pain, but he can't quite like he can't put it into anger. It's just complete depression.
Like intense points on this album.
I mean, there's a couple, even the bombastic tracks in here, like Full Stop and Identikit, are still somewhat subdued compared to like
there's kind of this centerpiece of the album where to me Full Stop and Identikit are almost two halves of the same coin, and then like Glass Eyes is just this like brief buffer, it's this decompression zone where you're like just kind of you're pulled into this very real moment, and like you kind of face reality for a moment. Like I don't know, it's almost a moment of clarity in between those two like panic attacks almost.
Literally like
Full
the
Stop
eye
and
of a
Glass
storm.
Eyes. I mean, Full Stop and Identikit. Full Stop is like maybe their most intense song since like Mixomatosis.
Oh my god, Full Stop. Can we just all agree that Full Stop is just like the best?
It's so
incredible.
incredible.
I can't say that. I mean, my favorite's Present Tense on the album. That's again right from the beginning. Like from my first listen to the album to now, my favorite song is still Present Tense. I don't know.
The thing about this album is that literally every song on it is the greatest song of all time.
That was pretty much what I was gonna say.
Like
it doesn't make sense. Like Full Stop's not the best song on the album, but it's just the best. Like
it's the best build up. It's just like it starts out, it's the drums and the bass, and just slowly things keep adding in. There's a little sound effects like
Also, and like
it's fucking I don't know, man. It's so great.
One thing that I thought was interesting about this album is a lot of the songs move from like point A to point B. They aren't like songs. They aren't songs. you know, I think Burn the Witch is actually the biggest song here,
And even that is just built off of the same thing, building more, which is why I would say this is more of a krautrock. That was thrown around so much, especially for Amnesiac. And as far as the sounds, and as far as the sounds on those records, sure. But the common theme with krautrock is this simple something being built and built and built into the point where it's so there's so much tension that you almost can't stand it. And I definitely see this here. There's a lot of I feel on this album, but Full Stop particularly, when I first heard it, I was like, this is almost like an Amandoul 2 song, but like British. And I couldn't even like put it in my head, like, this is such a German sounding thing, but it's also like something entirely different.
Mm-hmm. And since we kind of touched on it earlier, well, we were just kind of mentioning little production cues, and I know that like obviously Tom's huge influence on this album, but I mean, every member of the band kind of stepped up their game. Like Johnny is obviously everywhere, and so is Ed, and so is Colin.
Every art or each one of their influences, so you can just hear each of them distinctly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like Phil isn't as ubiquitous on this album as he was on like The King of Limbs, for example, but like he's there, you know. Like, I mean, I don't know, I feel like he just made like, you know, a folk album, and then I think his second record was a bit different, but like, you know, I feel that influence here, you know. I feel like, I don't know. Yeah. Tom isn't off making folk songs on his own, you know. I'm sure he, like, you know, wanted to write that music, but like, you know, I don't think any member is like playing a low part here. No, is what I'm saying. Nigel, fucking good Lord. Nigel, can we give this man a medal? Like,
oh my god,
yeah.
I heard about what happened to his dad, but he made his fucking best work.
Hold on.
Like,
Nigel.
Nigel is a legend on this album. Nigel is nothing short of like divine, just immaculate, perfect in every way.
I said this earlier in the chat, but this is like honestly my favorite album of all time in terms of production.
And I don't think that's entirely unreasonable.
Yeah. Okay. Well, another thing about this album is like you could tell me you think this album is objectively better than Kid A, and I wouldn't really object. Like, I mean, I obviously don't think there's an objective best, and Kid A is still my favorite, but I think it easily stands up to any of their records. Like, I don't know. It's just such a definitive statement. It's like such a.
I agree.
It's different from everything they've done too. Like.
It has such
but
a
at the same time
similar. Yeah. It's kind of like The Life of Pablo in that way. Like,
okay, boy. Whoa. Nah. Anyway, no. Okay, actually, I'm sorry. I made some numbers too. You get to make your dumb comparisons, so go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I don't think it's like a close comparison, but I mean, I think of like, you know, The Life of Pablo has a lot of elements from Kanye's discography, and that's just what I was saying. This has a lot of elements from Radiohead's discography, but it's not like it doesn't sound like anything they've done before.
See, I don't know if I can.
It's chronology. Sure. There's the cohesion in chronology, not in sound or really like theme at all.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting about that is they were able to do that while somehow putting the songs in alphabetical order, most of which already had names, so it's not like they could name them after. It's actually crazy how they're able to do that and still have it follow like a somewhat cohesive progression.
They changed Silent Spring to the numbers.
That's true. That's
true.
Okay, hold on.
My guess is that there was some fucking around, because there are some songs on here that we didn't know before, you know, like that we didn't have any titles for. I'd bet they changed a couple titles here and there, but it works. Yeah.
Okay. Can I say though, an interesting point that I don't think anyone's brought up yet is that it's really interesting how they're kind of they're finally kind of completing some of this earlier work they had. You know, that's been spread around for years now. Like some stuff, you know, kind of recently, like only dating back a couple years. Some stuff to like decades. You know.
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting as this album, it seems to be, again, it's sort of like a low-key divorce album, you know, for Tom.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that, again, of course, Daydreaming, the interesting part about that, you know, I don't know if we talked about, you know, the Half My Life thing where you sort of, you know, they reverse it and then put some effects on it. Is this I think that it's really interesting how they're going back to these songs, looking at the past, and I think that's sort of a symbolic way of Tom York looking back on the past of some of these songs he wrote when he was sort of, you know, with Rachel, and they kind of bring in, you know, they breathe new life or in some ways they don't breathe in life at all.
I appreciate that insight, but this is something they've always done. Like every
I was going to mention
has
like
songs that are like from the beginning or.
Fuck! I was trying to make
I get what you're saying.
Point, and I'm.
Well, you're right to some extent with like True Love Waits. I don't think that song would have made the album without the context of Tom's divorce, but no, yeah, like Morning Mr. Magpie and like half the songs on In Rainbows are like from the 90s, so it's not necessarily a new thing. But yeah, the way that they were able to spin them now with the new context is definitely something that's interesting with this one.
Yeah. Like a lot of these lyrics are old though. That's something. That's where you're right. Like a lot of these lyrics are old. They were taken from like, I don't know, random gargle mesh Tom posted on their website or from an old journal or a drawing.
Which, by the way, that random garble mesh that he just posted on Radiohead.com all the time in the early 2000s is like better lyrics than I'll ever be able to write in my whole life. And he just like shat it out in some notebook somewhere, and it's just not there.
And there, I think like on the older songs here, Tom made subtle changes in the lyrics. Like the lyrics are definitely the same, but like there are new lyrics that seem to more directly relate it to the end of his, marriage or whatever it was. Like, and then the present tense definitely has some of that. Like, I don't.
I think that's where Nigel came in, though. Like, I feel like a lot of the new power to the lyrics does come in the production, and obviously the way Tom sings them, like Matty mentioned, but also just like the way they're utilized, the way they're recorded and placed. It just completely changes even how we think of music, in my opinion, because typically language is used in music for a very concise purpose, and it's just translating basically a message to these people, give them something more to listen to. But here it is one of those records where the lyrics, not only the vocals, but the lyrics themselves are almost like instruments.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. One thing, this is kind of a separate point, but one thing I noticed about this, just because we're on like the production, this album sounds like not like a live album, but as though you're sitting there listening to them play it like on a patio somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was going to draw a comparison to that.
It feels like you're in the room. It's just it's so intimate.
It's simultaneously very distant and intimate, I think, in some ways. Yeah. Because in some ways it feels very distant and like he's sort of closing himself off from the world, like Tom York, or just Radiohead in general. It just seems like they're kind of closing themselves off from the world. But also, again, it's like you're saying, it's very intimate. It feels like, oh, they're kind of just like, we're in the studio or whatever, or outside, and they just play the album for me. Like, oh, cool. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, no, I think Josiah was going to say something about Desert Island Disc feeling like that, and I agree 100%. I feel like that song is like Tom and me just sitting inside like a cabin somewhere, and Tom, I don't know. It's just super personal. It's so
I would say probably the most intimate Radiohead song ever made, and like kind of thematically similar to Nick Drake in just being very personal, but also very haunting.
Yeah,
and just kind of.
It's I got that Nick Drake comparison to the guitar line, the riff. It's just like it's very, very like Nick Drakeian. I don't know, like it reminds me of Nick Drake a lot, and maybe that's like just very, like an English folk music
5 Leaves Left
kind of thing.
Kind
like
of thing.
Yeah. Like I don't know. It's you feel there's a lot of oldness to this album. Actually, before
a lot of maturity.
Yeah, a lot of maturity too. But like before it was released, I don't know. Johnny said like in some offhand comment, or maybe it was Nigel, I'm not sure, but that they used a lot of very old and very new technology on this record.
Yeah. I remember someone saying that as well.
And that's kind of. That actually sums up the album, like even the instrumentation in a very good way. Like it's like there's a lot of old and new on this record. There are a lot of old styles and like thoughts like using an orchestra, like, but then everything's so new because of the production and just like the songs being so intimate and modern, even, or I guess contemporary, because that's technically not the correct usage of modern, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like the line "different types of love are possible" would not. That's not something that would have been written like 50 years ago. That's very much a newer school of thought.
Oh yeah.
And also just like talking about divorce in the way Tom does, or at least in the way we're assuming he does, is like it's very, it's open about it in a way that people wouldn't have like felt comfortable or even like been allowed to be open about divorce in like the 1950s or like, you know, even like 20 years ago. It's a very modern album, or new. It's very new, but it's old too.
Yeah.
And I mean, even the theme of divorce as it is a very new and old thing, because, you know, it is a new trauma that he's experienced, but at the same time it's the swamp with these old memories, and it's almost like he's living in the past without everything that was there before, you know.
It does feel kind of a little bit like Tom just reminiscing, and I think that's kind of why it progresses and gets more dismal, is he just literally the progression of their relationship and ultimately the downfall, maybe.
Yeah. I noticed that I think the only song that we haven't specifically mentioned so far is Tinker Tailor, Soldier Sailor, Rich Man, Poor Man, Bigger Man, Thief. Nailed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like that song kind of drew the short stick that is the reception of this album, because that song is absolutely great, and it perfectly encapsulates everything that Radiohead is doing right with the orchestration and the atmosphere. It's a good song, and I wanted to mention
I think the only reason I don't have a lot of formulated thoughts on it is because I've been listening to this album in full a lot, and there's just so many fucking great songs on this album that song is the second to last, and it's right before fucking True Love Waits.
Yeah.
So by the time I'm there, I'm just like literally burnt out on amazing songs and just this album in general.
That's something I kind of want to mention, is that, you know, when talking about solo tracks, this is one of those records I really have a hard time with, because it feels like a single movement. And when I was, you know, listening to it, I was often playing it again and again and again. And the only significant, like, break really was from the end to the beginning, when you go from True Love's Waits, which is obviously the subdued, just like downtrodden kind of, you know, dismal track, to Burn the Witch, which is like this like just sweeping, powerful, energetic song. The rest of it seems like, as an album, it just moves this one single entity. Even though it is kind of song oriented, it's still so much in the same atmosphere that I wouldn't consider it. Though I will say Tinker Tailor, I'll just call it that, is probably the first song where I opened up Windows Media Player and looked at the track just to be like, wait, which one is this? Because it starts out like very kind of old Radiohead, though from an audio perspective, I would say it's so much more up close and confrontational than, say, Kid A or Amnesiac, but it has those like popping alien beats to it, and then as it goes on, it just gets more old, as we would say, and more orchestrated and dense.
Reminds me of the Gloaming a little bit at the beginning. Similar, it's like similar tone, you know, similar mood. I guess the thing about Tinker Tailor for me is like it's definitely a really great song, but it's just like coming before True Love Waits gives it like, you know, kind of makes it second fiddle, you know, because that's just True Love Waits is just such an intense moment, especially after everything you hear on this album.
I will say though, sorry,
everything that you can go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that when I first saw the track list and I first kind of was starting to listen to the album for the first time, I was kind of, I don't know if I want to say, was kind of disappointed that they included True Love Waits, just cause this is before I listened to it, because like it was already so canon, and I was like, it's like pretty much already a song. I feel like they were taking a song, like they might as well have taken a song from like Amnesia, just thrown it on the album. I just thought it was kind of dumb, but but
and then you heard it, and then you realized you were wrong.
I actually,
exactly right.
I struggled with that even a few listens in, because True Love Waits was already like I think I have 155 plays of that song.
Yeah.
I mean, it's increased recently, but before then, like, I think that was the number on my iTunes, and like, like, it was already one of my favorite Radiohead songs and one of my favorite songs of all time, and it was just like, it almost felt like a cover to me, and it was like upsetting, especially because, you know, I had associated True Love Waits, like the original live version, just like with my own romantic feelings, and it was like kind of a comforting while also like desperate song. I don't know. I had connected with it so much, and it was just like so meaningful to me. And hearing it in this new concept, it was just like all of the joy had been taken out of the world.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's like, it's such a bleak statement.
Fortunately, though,
and the fact, like, just the way that they changed it.
And that was kind of what I was gonna say. Like, for me, at least, they're at this point they're just separated to me. Like, True Love Waits on this album is just an entirely different song, different meaning, different concept than the original True Love Waits. So it's kind of easier for me to separate them at this point.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. Like I was saying earlier, like I always listen to the original True Love Waits after listening to the album, and it's just like, it doesn't feel like I'm playing the same song over again. It's not like that at all. I'm playing a related but entirely different song that I love.
Yeah, and in a way, this almost like reminds me, and of course Johnny has so much experience with film scores. It reminds me of, you know, film scores, and particularly Leitmotiv, which, you know, for those not privy, is, you know, when there's a common theme, especially in like perhaps a trilogy of music that has some significant differences that cause usually to mean a different context. You know, the classic example is with Star Wars. There's like a theme for every single character in every situation, but every time it's different. So with this, I feel like, exactly. Poison Season has a whole lot of that. But with Radiohead, I feel like with picking up these older songs that are known by their fans and putting it in a new context with significantly new sounds, but it still, you know, represents the same entity, that feels like Leitmotiv to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's kind of interesting that Tom's essentially done that kind of film idea of like increasing the depth of True Love Waits by showing that, like, if he presents it in this way, he can elicit an entirely different emotional reaction from you. And just like you said, they feel like two completely different related songs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What was the thing about this album that was most surprising to you guys? I don't know. Like, there were a lot of things about this record that really surprised me. Like, I mean, especially the fact that it doesn't sound like any other Radiohead album.
I would just guess just how intensely personal it is, not only just like as an album, as an entity by itself, but in comparison to the rest of Radiohead's discography and like some of my favorite albums from them. When you look at an album like Kid A or Amnesiac, like, it's so cold and it's so detached and it's so humanless. Like, the whole point is like, okay, we're gonna like take the human out of this and just try to, I don't know, and it's just such a polar opposite space that he must be in, and I just also, it kind of caught me off guard.
Another thing about this record that's different, that sets it apart from the rest of their discography, is like a lot of their albums are like anxiety or alienation personified, and
absolutely.
And this album, it doesn't have that. It's kind of gone.
This is more like
it's not that it's gone. Obviously, there's still anxiety to it. There's like probably, you know, still alienation to it, but it's got a different focus. It's like focused on this own defeatist, like depressive state that Tom was in for much of it, and that Nigel was in for much of it too.
Similarly, I was gonna say the most surprising thing for me was the lack of brutality. Like all throughout Radiohead's discography, especially present in the lyrics, but I mean definitely in the music too. There was all of this confrontation and all of this like heavy language. Like, I mean, think Wolf at the Door. That's a perfect example of a song that's like, whoa, so alarming. And I mean, we hope that you choke, that you choke. There's so many lyrics like that on OK Computer too. And like you could handpick any album, and there'll be a number of lyrics that you listen to and just feel almost assaulted by violence in a way.
Yeah.
But with this isn't violent at all. It's broken. It's genuinely hurt rather than something being about hurting. It is just hurt, and I just I really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
It's wounded in a way. So, and the cover kind of looks like a gash too. Like it looks like
I can see that.
I'm still trying to interpret the artwork itself and the title of the album. There have been some kind of wacky theories out there that I've seen, but none of them really seem that founded. It could just be Stanley messing around, but I don't know.
On a much less deep level, like the thing that shocked me on this record, like just as someone who's really familiar with Radiohead, like their inclusion of like in a major way of acoustic guitars.
Yeah.
It's not really something they play with much, you know, like
the King of Limbs had it, but like so I guess
but it was like it kind of like blended into that album, you know. There were a couple songs throughout their discography, like Faustarp, a couple of the Hail to the Thief B-sides, like they did it a couple times. The beginning of Paranoid Android, like they did it a couple times, but these are like some of these songs are acoustic guitar songs, you know, like that's the primary driving instrument on the song.
Yeah, you're definitely right. In the way that you just basically said it. Like the riffs are performed on acoustic guitars instead of just the rhythm.
Like as like a like a garnish or like as the rhythm. It's like like Desert Island Disc in the present tense, and to a slightly lesser extent the Numbers. Like those are acoustic guitar songs.
While it's still vaguely relevant. Just a brief tangent real quick. Can we appreciate that Radiohead with Gagging Order, like they're like, we're going to make an indie folk song. And then they did. And it was the best one ever made. And then they never made one ever again.
I think what
can I answer the question of like what I didn't expect from this album or what I expected that didn't happen? I expected a lot more electronic stuff because I was just like, it seems like
I think everyone expected them to head in like an electronic direction
because
they've been heading down that path.
It was either more electronic or they were going to go back to guitars and whatnot, but instead they kind of was like, this is more orchestral and
chamber pop.
I'm perfectly fine with that.
And there was like an electronic influence present on this album, I'd say, but it's just
more guitars too, like Identikit that has a guitar solo, like
I know,
the first amazing guitar solo in a long ass fucking time.
I'm actually curious about that. It's probably the first one since like Go to Sleep or something, like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't think of like, and Rainbows kind of had guitar solos, but they weren't really guitar solos,
right.
You know, like, it's their first guitar solo in a long, long time. That's like a real bona fide guitar solo where you're like, hey, this is a guitar solo. A guitar solo is happening right now.
That's kind of what shocked me the most about the album, was that it was able to blend the electronic, the acoustic, and just regular, just all these like sonic varies so much throughout, and yet is probably one of the most cohesive albums they've put out.
Yeah, it's the most organic, that's for sure.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I did appreciate, like, it's actually helped me realize that The King of Limbs is an organic album. Like,
it's so organic. I would actually say The King of Limbs is their most organic.
They've been moving in an organic direction in a while. Like, I mean, for a while, you know, and Rainbows was pretty organic compared to like Hail to the Thief, and then The King of Limbs is like, I never thought The King of Limbs wasn't organic. I always associated that album with nature, but now it's just like so like that's just all it is. This organic, like, but herky jerky robotic thing. I don't know like how to describe it, but
and that's kind of that kind of goes back to the contrast of like this album and their last album with the ones that like Kid A&M Music. Like those albums were like anti-organic.
Yeah,
and it's just so interesting to see them cover all these grounds. And on a similar note, I was kind of get a kick out of if you go to Radiohead's if you go to the A Moon Shaped Pool Rate Your Music page. They'll give like genres and descriptors, and like leading genre for a moon-shaped pool is chamber pop, I think. And I remember just seeing that, and I was like, well, that's it. They've done it all. There's no more genres left.
So we should probably wrap things up
it's your
real quick and
trap.
give our.
I'm sorry.
Is this album appropriate to give head ratings to? Is it appropriate to give a head rating to this album? Is it?
I thought of a head rating during this, but
okay.
I don't.
Jake,
I don't know. It's up to you guys.
Jake, you go for
I
it.
don't know
I want to
if
hear this. I want to hear yours at least.
Well, my head rating would be the Bible verse, Jesus wept, just the head of Jesus Christ weeping. That's my head rating.
Oh, that's so perfect.
Guys, we're officially announcing that we are retiring the head ratings. From here on out, we're gonna not do them anymore. Okay. I cannot give a rating to this album just yet. Like I can't. Like I'm still like. Because you guys talked a majority through this discussion.
Yeah.
I don't have my thoughts decided on this album completely just yet.
I don't care to or particularly want to give it a rating.
Yeah, it feels
like
heresy in a weird way.
Yeah,
like because that's so arbitrary. That's so arbitrary to put a number on something and to build a hierarchy. And this album feels a lot about relativity.
Yeah, especially
at the same
time,
but at the same time,
human statement.
But at the same time, 9.1 best new music.
Hey Keaton,
No.
Keaton, I'm gonna give your thoughts on ratings a 7 out of 10. That's what
I'm with you guys. I just like am hesitant to give this any kind of ranking because I think that would be against what this album is about. It's just supposed to be something you connect to, not something that you are making top 10s of looking at you, BuzzFeed.
Yeah.
Fucking
BuzzFeed.
Oh, that
It
list.
was such a bad.
What did they say was their favorite Radiohead song? It was like some Radiohead. It was like some OK Computer deep cut that like no one cared about.
It was Lucky.
No, it wasn't
Oh
a
my-
deep cut.
Wasn't it?
Nothing from OK Computer is a fucking deep
Oh,
cut.
no, yeah, no.
okay?
Yeah.
Like, I just... One thing, I don't know, that list made me so mad.
No, same. Like, how
That-
can
that
you...
list-
They had all the tracks from A Moon-Shaped Pool in there, too, and it was like 2 days after it came out. It's like, not only can you rank the songs on this album somehow, but you can also rank them within the context of Radiohead's entire career. It just did not rub me the right way at all.
The thing is that chart is literally just like not meant for Radiohead fans. It's not meant for us.
It really is. Like, fucking... They put
Radiohead fans
Transatlantic
read us?
Drawl, like, which is the GOAT song. Transatlantic Drawl is amazing. Okay, they put it in their bottom 5. Yeah.
Was the worst Pop Is Dead? Was that the worst?
I don't think so.
Because I can get behind that, but
I don't think it was.
No,
I think
it was like it wasn't an actual album track. It was
MK2. It was MK2 off of the
Yeah.
which isn't even a track. It's like an interlude.
Yeah.
Which is
So
another
when it
reason
gets
that
down
it's
to it,
That's just
what that
like
article proves is hierarchy doesn't even apply to Radiohead, and it never really has. Everything is its own in a certain degree. And I mean, obviously, people will constantly talk about how Pablo Honey is not like the Radiohead album. It doesn't fit into, people shit on it and shit on it and shit on it. But for people who don't listen to Radiohead, that is the Radiohead album. I know a lot of people who sincerely love Creep and sincerely love that record and, listen to a lot of Britpop and grunge and stuff. And it fits into that entity in its own way. It's just not what we enjoy particularly, So in my mind, every Radiohead album has its own place entirely.
Absolutely.
And, every piece of music they compose in a way.
That was really a deep analyzation of how Creep is, whether it's a bad song or not. I appreciated that.
Okay, here's the thing with people saying like, "Oh, Creep's a bad song." Like, I saw someone in like an Indieheads thread, what is the worst song by your favorite artist? And someone said Creep. It's like, dude, there's like probably like way worse songs than Pablo Honey I can think of that are worse.
Yeah,
every other one.
See, there's a reason why Creep is the standout from Pablo Honey. Like, come on, y'all.
Yeah, no, Creep is great. I feel like people, I don't even know. It's just like
It's like Fitter Happier, where it's easy to attack because it's like sonically grating to people who don't like Radiohead. And it's sonically grating in a different way, but from Fitter Happier. But
yeah,
When Snow Comes Frost. Okay,
I think that they're like, yeah.
They're like what?
Cut out. By the way, Fitter Happier is a great song, and I enjoy listening to it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, me too.
I have a poster in my room, and it has the lyrics.
I do too. I think it's
poster.
the same poster, probably.
Yeah. Good poster.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 poster.
Yeah.
All right, let's get.
I rank that poster. That's 10
Okay.
out of 10.
Jesus Christ, guys. All right. So, hope you guys enjoy listening to this podcast. The next episode will be on James Blake and Death Grips. I'm really excited to record
Chance
that episode.
3.
We promise.
No,
Coloring book, am I right?
Okay, okay, Alex, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do this, okay? So next episode, which again could be like this week, later, like Friday maybe, it's gonna be Death Grips and James Blake, and then after that, it will be Teens of Denial and Chance 3. Does that sound good?
I'm down with that.
And then catch
Because
up.
I've actually listened to Teens of Denial and Chance 3.
Perfect.
I have not listened to Teens of Denial because I am a good citizen of these United States, and I am no leak squad.
Get out of here.
Thing is, I mean, I've had the album legally for like, it's gonna be, by the time the album comes out, I would have had it legally for like 11 days. So I mean, wink.
Yeah.
But anyways, okay, guys, little plugs real quick. Okay, Indieheads podcast channel. Hopefully, get it back within the next 2 weeks. This podcast is being uploaded on my own personal channel because YouTube sucks donkey balls. Make sure to
Not
like
YouTube, IFPI. And Drake.
Oh yeah, I'm tired. Okay, anyways, like us on Facebook at facebook.com/IndieheadsPodcast. Follow us on Twitter, IndieheadsPod. Make sure to check out our website, rndheadspodcast.wordpress.com. We have cast bios and all the archives of the podcast in case YouTube takes down our channel and whatnot. We also have a Symbol. Again, follow us on Symbol. Download Symbol on your iPhone and follow us on there at Indieheads Podcast. We are very rapidly approaching 1,000 followers. We might actually do a giveaway to whoever our 1,000th follower is, so I'm going to keep a lookout on that. Do we have like a vinyl code we can give away?
I just got rid of my Neutral Milk Hotel vinyl code the other day.
Oh,
I actually found someone who didn't have it.
I might have a vinyl code.
I might have a Teens of Denial code I can give away because I'm going to get one. So I'll give away a code of Teens of Denial to whoever our 1,000th follower is on Symbol. So go follow us on there. But I think that's it. Again, if you guys want links to all that stuff, it's in the description. And also, okay, I said this in the I think I kind of mentioned this in the update video, the copyright strike video. FYC, I'm done with How to Survive in the Music Industry. That's done. I'm done with school. I have summer school, but it's like it's just like a small class for radio. So FYC should be seeing a comeback. By the time we get this copyright strike, once we get this business over with, I will begin work on the next FYC, which I think I have decided that I'm going to do it on Jai Paul's self-titled leaked album. It's a very interesting pop album. I think a lot of people need to know more about Jai Paul, and I'm really interested to kind of delve into the history of him because he's a very mysterious artist, and there's not much known about him. And I kind of want to be just digging. I'm just gonna be a dirty little bitch. I'm gonna go through everything I know. Okay, you guys are gonna know everything about him. The mystery of him gone. So yeah. That's about it.
It'll be the gotcha journalism of indie music.
Yep, exactly. Expose on Jai Paul, how he actually is committed 9/11.
Oh. This is the. Oh, just kidding. Never mind.
This is
I was gonna say the last podcast I was on, we ended with the Holocaust, and this one we're gonna end with 9/11.
Yep.
So that's good.
I apologize. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed listening to this podcast, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
So long.
Farewell.